So welcome everyone. This is Elsie Kerns and also our co-host, Brittany Histing. We're going to introduce ourselves in a few minutes, but I love this slide because Brittany is a surfer. And so she did her own drawing here about learning this technique that is proven to help decrease stress and anxiety in the moment and over time. So tonight's agenda, we're going to begin with a brief history of the method. We're going to use an example of the spotted method, and we're going to focus on you. Where are you on the stress and anxiety continuum? And we're going to let you have an opportunity to put in the chat, really, what are your sources of stress? We're going to share with you the spotted concepts, and we're going to take a deep dive into each of the 4 aspects of the spotted method. And by the way, Brittany has put in the chat box a link to the spots that you can print out. There are a ton of them. We'll see them on screen later, but you can have them to share for yourself later. So when we talk about the spotted method, it's been referred to as the best kept secret because it was really created and discovered by Dr. Abraham Lowe back in the late 30s, and he was a brilliant neuropsychiatrist. He's written several books that you can still get on Amazon. And he felt that people needed not only self-help, but in a peer-to-peer approach. So what he found is that this helped to decrease the symptoms of anxiety, help people feel better about themselves, and it certainly enhanced individual self-esteem. Best of all, it works in the moment when you need it and can take less than 5 minutes. So you can use this for yourself, with others, in your workplace. It has endless variety of uses, and it is then available to you 24/7.
Yes, it is, Elsie. So we know with the spotted method that the example teaches. So to kick off this webinar, we are going to do an example where Elsie coaches me, as she being the spotted coach and me being the spotted student, and you guys can see how this works in real time.
Great. So, Brittany, can you begin by giving me, in a brief, clear statement, a situation that you would like to work with?
Yes. So I have my own business, and a couple of days ago, I noticed that I was not receiving emails to my inbox, a place where I often receive messages from clients, and I could not figure out where those emails were going or what was going on. That's the situation.
Great. Now, when this happened, how would you describe first your physical symptoms? What kind of physical symptoms did this initially bring up for you?
I felt restless. I felt sort of shaky, just really amped, like I needed to figure it out. And I would say a little bit of tightness in my body.
And then how would you describe the thoughts that were going through your mind about this situation?
My thoughts were, am I missing important client emails? Am I missing important emails from, co-presenters, co-workers? Is there, things that I'm supposed to be responding to? People think I'm ignoring them or not being attentive to their needs. So just a lot of worries about making sure that I was, being attentive to the people who send me emails, and especially for my business.
Great. So what led you to certain spots to begin to neutralize the situation for yourself?
Well, a spot I like is don't make an emergency out of it. Do things in part acts, one step at a time. Calm brings calm. And anticipate enjoy or not at all.
Great. And then how can you self-endorse yourself for the way that you handle this with the spotted method?
I endorse myself for taking initiative and making time, even though I have a really busy schedule right now, to figure out, to get to the bottom of it and figure out what was going on. I endorse myself for not getting short-tempered, as I sometimes do when things aren't, running smoothly or as I expect them to. I endorse myself for waking up this morning. I endorse myself for getting out of bed and brushing my teeth. I endorse myself for having a nice big fruit bowl for breakfast. And I endorse myself for getting back, once I figured out the answer, getting back to everybody that had emailed me.
Great. So when you look at this, when we look at your success on how you handled it and the spots that you used, what would you say is how you would have handled something before you began using the spotted method?
Before the spotted method, I definitely could have gotten really sort of angry and maybe have been short with the people around me, even though it's not their problem. And because of the spotted method, I was able to just bring myself back to more peace and also just spend less time in frustration. Before the spotted method, I might have really thought about this issue and kept it at the forefront of my mind. But instead, I also plan, decided, and act. I made a plan. I decided what I was going to do and I acted on it. And I didn't let my peace of mind become the victim of this situation.
Great. So I would also add some spots and say that not only did you plan, decide, and act, but that when we strive for effort, not relief, and then relief will come. And also that if we keep analyzing, it kind of paralyzes us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll try a little conversation with this a little bit later to maybe give somebody the opportunity to like to try it with us.
Yes.
So here we are with our spotted story. So Elsie Kerns here. I am an Eden Energy Medicine Advanced Practitioner, and I learned a lot about ways to handle anxiety. But many people would have thought they were a little bit too woo-woo to take into the business arena. So when I came across Spotted, after reading Evan's book on addiction to struggle, I said, let me investigate this. And I found that it was a great way, especially to bring into the workplace, because it had so many easy applications. And certainly everyone in the workplace is struggling with stress. And one of my favorite spotteds is, comfort is a want, not a need. And I have to say that when I came to Spotted, I was kind of amazed by that sentence and realized how true that was. But I always thought it was a need and not a want. So I've learned a lot with Spotted. So Brittany, tell us about you.
Yeah, so for me, most of my life, I didn't have a lot of anxiety. I was pretty much in good spirits, the normal things that you go through as you go through life. But a couple of years ago, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I was presented with a lot of really low frequency thoughts. I was feeling a lot of sadness, anger, guilt, just all these emotions were coming to the surface. And kind of from that time, I started to become much more spiritual and deepen my connection to myself, really, and what I believed in, which was a higher power. And I started studying a book called A Course in Miracles. And I really loved this book and the concepts that it was teaching me. And so I decided to start a business and I also do energy healing. So I learned some things while helping my dad through his journey. We did a lot of alternative practices, and he ended up living for 2 years. He outlived his prognosis, and he had very great quality of life, basically up until the last month of his life. And a lot of these different things we did really helped him. So I decided to start a business where I shared with other people the different practices we came across. I was also an emergency department nurse for 6 years. So I combined what I knew in the ER with the alternative and different techniques that we used. And what I found was the Course in Miracles, it wasn't super translatable to the everyday life. But then I came upon Spot It. And what I love about Spot It is it teaches so many beautiful principles that I've learned through my spiritual journey, but it does it in a way that is just very down to earth, very easy. And some of those phrases that come from that book, they can be sort of laborious and just not easy to remember. Whereas with Spot It, you just get all these wonderful phrases that right there in the moment, you can remember them, and it can help you get back to peace really fast. And I actually found that the phrases from the Spot It method helped me so much more than those other phrases, even though I really related to the concepts. So I've been using the Spot It method in conjunction with the Course in Miracles ever since. I've noticed my peace of mind has gone up exponentially. And I'm just really grateful to have it as a part of my toolbox for keeping peace of mind in my life, which is, I know, my most valuable thing. And also to use it to be able to be a coach for others, helping them to stay peaceful in these very turbulent and ever-changing times that we're currently experiencing.
Thanks, Brittany. So the question that you're probably asking is, what's in it for you? Well, you learn a method that will help you personally. It's going to be available to you 24/7, helping you handle stress, anxiety for the rest of your life. You become more emotionally intelligent. It helps you increase your self-confidence and, most important, your peace of mind. It gives you the opportunity to develop stronger connections in this ever-growing, supportive, Spot It community. So you have an opportunity here to just type in the chat. We're asking, what is stressing you? No one is happy with change. It could be an email that you interpreted as critical or negative. Maybe you're afraid of crossing over bridges or a little obsessed with germs since COVID arrived. Speaking at a presentation, that's certainly a little scary for all of us. Starting a new project, again, change. Being unsure of what to do. Doing something you're afraid or hesitant to do. It could be a physical sensation or symptom. You could just be worrying about a situation, or you could be feeling alone, angry, sad, frustrated, grief, disappointed, overwhelmed. And it can also be a stressor in family relationships from time to time. So you're welcome to type in an answer to the chat box. Brittany will check that for us.
Yes. So we have Sue saying confrontation. People are so angry. Yeah, definitely have seen that out there, Sue. I can relate to that.
Yes. And in this day and age, it is, well, we're seeing gun violence, war. It is a tremendous manifestation of uncontrollable anger almost. So no matter where you are on the spectrum of stress and anxiety, this method can help you. So you can be at 1 with no stress at all, or at 5. You'll notice you could chat something in the box there. For instance, this person chatted in, "My dog ate my homework." Or there's so many stressors around relationships, money, work, our house, our family, our relationships. So again, if you would like, you can type something in there. Give us an idea from 1 to 5 where that level of stress is for you.
I know for me today, Elsie, I'm at a 1. I had a really great day, although some days I'm at a 3 or a 4, but today I'm at a 1, which is nice.
Great. So I see it looks like someone else put something in the chat, but just before we go on, if there's any other comments.
Oh, I put something in the chat.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. So it's great to have it. It was a beautiful day, so it was great to have that one day.
Oh, Sue says 3. She's having trouble finding me time.
Okay.
Thanks,
Yes.
Sue.
I think many of us are struggling with that. Despite all the technology we have, we're still dancing as fast as we can to get things done. So
Yes.
the goal of Spot It is always going to be your peace of mind. When we're in stress, worry, tension, angry thoughts, physical symptoms, we have very little peace of mind. But after we begin using the Spot It method, it helps us grow each day and have tools that we can use anywhere. It helps us with our stress, the worry, tensions, all of the anger, and the physical symptoms that we're all going through. So I just want to mention here that tomorrow night there is the largest supermoon of 2022. The full moon is so close to the Earth that it's referred to as a supermoon. And the astrologers are saying because it's a supermoon, it's likely to create a great deal of emotion. So this is perfect timing for us to share with you. And one of the things that I first learned and loved about Spot It was the dimmer switch, because we all know what a dimmer switch is and how it turns things up or down. So it can allow us to have security, confidence, peace of mind, relaxation, or if we turn that dimmer switch up, it can produce a lot of anxiety, doubt, anger, fear, and obviously stretch. So we can refer to the dimmer switch frequently because it's an easy metaphor to understand what's happening on that emotional scale for you. Unknowingly, actually, your reactions, you sometimes create more tension. So turning the dimmer switch up, the spotlight process helps you to turn the dimmer switch down and giving you more sense of security and safety. So your thoughts, beliefs, actions are either turning the dimmer switch up with tension, doubt, stress, or turning the dimmer switch down, giving you more safety, security, confidence, and relaxation of mind. So the dimmer switch, again, is something that is so easy to learn. And that's the other thing about Spot It is very simple, easy methods have been introduced in order to help you figure out whether you're turning the dimmer switch up or down.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're the medical person, Brittany. Tell us about this.
Yes, thanks, Elsie. Well, one thing I like to say is that the concept of the dimmer switch and knowing that we have the ability to either turn our symptoms up or turn them down becomes really important when we understand the way our body works physiologically. So in our body, we have the nervous system, and we have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic response. So the sympathetic response, this is our fight or flight, the stress response that we're all familiar with. I'm sure you've heard of. When we're in our sympathetic response, this is when our blood pressure, our heart rate, and our respiratory rate are really high. Our body is physically releasing different hormones and chemicals, some known as adrenaline and cortisol. These are the stress hormones. And basically, this response is a good thing in certain situations. So if you're walking through the woods and a tiger is chasing you, this is the response that's either going to help you to fight someone or flight out of that situation. You're being held at gunpoint, some sort of life or death situation. Someone's, you hear those stories about mothers who can lift cars off of their children, right? They are in the sympathetic response. You are getting all these different hormones that are helping to send blood to your muscles and not so much to your brain so that you can quickly escape that life-threatening situation. So the stress response, the sympathetic response, is a good thing when it's being used in those situations. But when we are in that response all the time, constantly, every time we get a bad email from our boss or a poor review from a customer or our kids get us upset, what happens over time is we stay in this sympathetic response, and that leads to inflammation and dis-ease in the body because we're constantly releasing these hormones, and they're good in short amounts of time, but over long periods of time, they're very taxing on the body. The other side of that coin is the parasympathetic response. This is the relaxation response. This is the response that when Elsie and I are doing any kind of energy healing sessions, we are trying to evoke the relaxation response, because when that response is evoked, we decrease our heart rate, we decrease our blood pressure, we think clearly, right? Blood is shunted to our brain, it's shunted to our digestive system. When we're in our relaxation response, this is when the body can function at a more optimal level. Our immune system is enhanced, right? You could be around tons of sick people, but if you're relaxed and you're in a good place, you're not going to get sick. Whereas if you're run down or stressing all the time, you're more likely to get sick. So what we're learning is that by being more aware of our reactions to situations, we can actually mitigate and control for ourselves which response we are invoking through our thoughts, words, and actions.
Thanks, Brittany.
You're welcome.
So, emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman, many years, wrote a book on this. And what it's really saying is that we have the ability to develop our own emotional intelligence. We're gaining mastery over our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. Remember, Tibetan monks have spent 20 years learning how to gain this mastery over their mind, their feelings, and their behaviors. Because our thoughts create feeling, the feelings create behaviors, and then the behavior reinforces those thoughts. And emotional intelligence starts simply with noticing how we feel and how we react in different circumstances or with different people. We have this cute little dog. So with Spotted, we're actually putting a spotlight on the feeling, the thought, or impulse, what we might have not specifically noticed before. So it helps us to consciously see what is triggering us and what is causing our stress and anxiety.
So this is a the first spot that we want to teach you in the Spot It method. And the spots, these are the phrases that help us go from a insecure thought to a secure thought, or from a fearful thought to a less fearful thought, to a more peaceful thought. So this is both a spot, as you'll see when we go over the 4 steps, as well as a concept. So our peace of mind is our primary goal. So when we do the Spot It method, our goal is always our peace of mind, because what we've learned is that when we're in peace of mind, we can do anything. But when we're caught up in those lowered emotions, stress, fear, anxiety, worry, it's really hard to go about life in a calm and awesome way. So when we're doing this method, our peace of mind is always our primary goal. So, and if we want to reduce stress and anxiety in our life, we need to make peace of mind our primary goal. I know for me, I didn't realize that that was my goal for a long time. But when you make that your goal, it's really a lot easier to navigate any situation. You start to make decisions that head toward peace instead of, fueling that fight or fueling that anxiety or fueling those, repetitive thoughts. We start to move toward peace. And when we learn to purposely drop our judgment towards others, we can reclaim our peace. And often we stop judging ourselves as well.
That's really excellent, because we need peace of mind today more than ever.
Yes. And I like on that slide, it says, what's more important, being at peace or being right? Right? There's so many situations where it's so easy to pick a side, but what's more important, being right or being at peace?
Great. Now, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So Dr. Lowe said that life consists of trivialities and very little else. So when we're talking about trivialities, these are the things we worry about on a daily basis. We're not talking about being held at gunpoint, being chased by a tiger, any sort of life-threatening situation, but we have these trivialities. And what happens is during our day, we like to use the analogy of the snowflake, right? So one snowflake falls, another snowflake falls, becomes a snowball, and then it becomes an avalanche. Well, just like that, we have these trivialities. First triviality, woke up late for work. You feel the stress and tension. Then the next triviality, you're sitting in traffic. Now you're definitely late. Then you're late for a meeting, and then work doesn't go well. Then a customer complains. All these trivialities are happening all throughout the day. And then you come home and your husband or your wife or your child gets a bad grade on the report card. And then someone says, oh, Mom, there's no cheese. And you just lose it, right? Because all those little snowflakes, those trivial stressors, they became a snowball, and then they became an avalanche, and then we just lose it. So it's these trivialities that they add up in our lives, and they cause us a lot of stress, and they create a lot of our stress and tension. So, and they, arouse in us anger, fear, and disappointment. So to be well, we need to have a way to handle these trivialities of daily life without going into temper. So, one of the spots that goes along with the trivialities is trivialities cause the most symptoms. And this was such a great realization for myself. When you start to look at what's really stressing us, what really tips the iceberg, it's these trivialities. And so this method is here to help us manage these trivialities and bring us back to peace, so we're not holding on to them all day long.
Right. So we want to live a more peaceful life, but it really starts with learning to recognize the signs and symptoms of temper. And in the Spot It method, we talk about 2 different types of temper. First, there's that angry temper that we turn outward to someone else. We can do this by judging the other person as wrong, or that we've been wronged, or that an expectation that we anticipated wasn't met. In this type of temper, we're looking at resentment, impatience, disgust, and hatred. We also have another way to look at temper. And in this way, we're judging ourselves as wrong. We're afraid that something we did is wrong, or that something is wrong with me, or that something bad will happen. So in the fearful temper, we primarily work with worry, embarrassment, shame is a big one, and feeling inadequate. So now we're going to take and break down that 4-step method.
And just a quick notice before we go through the method. This method is not about, oh, go ahead. You can go to the next slide, Elsie.
Say that again, the what?
Oh, you switched the slides. You could just go back to the
Here. Right. Okay.
Thank you so much. This method is not about being a doormat, a superhero, or an angel, right? We don't want to let people trample all over us, but it is about helping you get your mind to a better, more peaceful, more secure place so that when the challenges of life come, we can respond to them instead of reacting. And we have these automatic reactions and these automatic triggers that we're used to, we've been conditioned into. So that's what this is about. And just so you all know, and this is something I love and I've learned and has helped me a lot, the outer world is not here to bring us peace. This is something that we must cultivate for ourselves. And so using Spot It, we can start playing a new game, the game of peace of mind and the game of choosing secure thoughts, because we always have a choice over insecure thoughts.
I love your drawing here.
Thank you.
Yes. Very free flow. Okay,
All
so
right.
let's take this apart, each of the 4-step method.
Yes. So I'm going to do step 1. So we're going to start with step 1. In step 1, this is where we briefly and calmly describe the situation. We try to pick just one situation because you can't do too many at once. So we pick one situation, we briefly and calmly describe it.
When we go to step 2, we're looking at helping that person be the observer for what their physical sensations are. And then also, what are they thinking about? What's going on through their head through all of this?
Yes. And then in step 3, we use the spots, which are the phrases that bring us from an insecure to a secure thought. Those are the phrases that are on the back of this card that we link to in the chat. And we also, this is a 2-parter in that step, we also self-endorse. And we're going to talk about why self-endorsement is important in a few minutes here. And then Elsie, you want to tell us about step 4?
Sure. So it's very important to look at your progress and celebrate success. So we can look at our progress. Gee, how would I have reacted to the same situation before I was introduced or began to use the Spot It method? And again, just like self-endorsement, it's really important to know and see and celebrate our successes. We tend to look at the negative versus the positive. So really noting our progress and also celebrating those successes. So now when we go a little further into these, okay?
Yes. So back keying into step 1, the situation. This is where we briefly and calmly describe the situation. We try not to tell a long story. We really want to narrow it down to what it is. When I gave my situation, I could have went on about all different details, the emails I missed, but we just narrow it down to a very simple situation so we can become really clear about what is stressing us out. A lot of times there's a lot of other stories and feelings that make it unclear. So why does step 1 work? It works because when we name the situation in this brief and calm manner, we start the process of being self-reflective. And fortunately, we can't be in the drama of a situation and be self-reflective at the same time. So this is increasing our self-awareness. And so by being self-reflective, we already start to work ourselves down, right? So instead of being in that anger or that fearful temper that Elsie so eloquently explained, we are starting to work ourselves down, already heading toward peace of mind.
And then when we talk more specifically about the symptoms, there's a whole list here of body, physical feelings. People can have that clenched jaw, sweaty palms. Of course, their heart is racing or palpitations, insomnia, headaches. These are all common things that people might explain as to what was happening for them physically when this situation came up. Then they also have the option of talking about the thoughts. What kind of thoughts were going through your mind? Everything from, I can't believe they did that. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm wrong, they're right, they don't respect me. All of the things that we naturally go through and think about as we are looking at both aspects of these symptoms, both the physical body and the mind. And we also put this short disclosure in here reminding you that the spotted method is not a claim to cure, replacement for proper medical evaluation and or treatment of new worsening symptoms. It's not a replacement for your medication or a therapy. And if you are experiencing an emergency, please call 911 or contact your primary care provider. So here's an opportunity for you to slip into the chat box if you like. What symptoms do you tend to get, physical sensation or thoughts, when you hit a problem that really frustrates and upsets you, whatever situation that is?
Elsie, I'm curious, what are some of your, while people are typing in the chat, while giving them a second to do that, what are some of the like physical sensations or thoughts you have when you encounter stressful situations?
So the first, I would say physically, I go into high anxiety. My imagination gets on fire and I begin to over dramatize the situation. And my thoughts are, I've learned through the spotted method, my issues about control. So my thoughts are, how can I fix this? How can I make it different? And so I've learned again that that's not going to work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, we just invite you to put into the chat anything that for you, everyone has their own set of symptoms for both physical and mental when they're upset by a situation.
Yes, we have Martha Hodenot, and she says she gets knots in her stomach and feels tense. Thanks, Martha, for sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
I know for me, my shoulders start to creep up toward my ears when I'm really stressed. I'll just notice, okay, time to address this.
Right. Yes, I noticed that too. And then you have to let them drop back down.
Yes.
And really, when we get that upset, you find out that you really can't eat. Your stomach is just going around, spinning around, your head is spinning around, makes it very difficult to relax.
All right, thanks for sharing. Oh, Pamela says, oftentimes she thinks that things are her fault, even if they aren't. She feels increased heart rate, jaw tightens, and her neck tightens. Thanks for sharing, Pamela.
Yeah, thanks, Pam. So we can start to tame our physical symptoms and reactive thoughts and emotions by naming them, because it's kind of like a balloon. And when we name it, it kind of pops that balloon and doesn't make it so big. Once we become the objective observer of our symptoms, they begin to lose their fear-inducing grip on us, and they begin to loosen the power they have over us. So it gives us a chance to create a distance between what we're experiencing from them. So we no longer have to, quote, be in anger. We can just observe it. Oh, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing.
Yes. And really quick, Sue just said in the chat that her breath shortens or she starts to hold her breath when she's stressed.
Great. Thank you. So then when we go to spots and self-endorsing, we'll look at ways that we can apply these different spots or phrases.
So, oh, go ahead.
There. Okay, is that right? Yep.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So the spots or phrases are the gold of the 4-step method. They are what makes this so easy to use and so applicable to everyday life. So we can begin to replace those insecure, fearful thoughts, feel more confident, secure, and balance our thoughts, because we have, as we just explained, become the observer. So we give ourselves a little bit of a distance from the situation. And why do the spots work? Well, because for all of us, the first place we go is to the negative or to fear. So if we think about how this method helps us replace fearful, anxious thoughts, then those thoughts that make us feel insecure with more realistic and balanced thoughts. So after a while, we begin to feel better. And with practice, the spots become our default setting, helping us to feel better faster. So some of the easy spots, again, are things like, it's distressing to us, but not dangerous. So even when we're feeling uncomfortable in certain situations, that doesn't necessarily mean the situation is dangerous. But if we turn up that dimmer switch and we add the thought of danger, we work ourselves up and create even more anxiety. The spot, it's distressing but not dangerous, helps us to just work things down. I love this one. A thought started it, a thought can end it. So we can't always control the feelings and emotions that are coming through us or things that pop into our mind. But what we can do is replace those negative, anxious thoughts with a positive one, which will help us feel more secure. And most of us have that habit of worrying. We think that the worry will protect us. But this is the thought habit that we can change. And also, right at the University of Pennsylvania, they provide a course on positivity. So people are starting to look at, how can I take these negative thoughts and look at them in a different perspective? I love this. Approval is a want, not a need. So in some respects, we all want the approval of others. But what's most important for our mental fitness and health is that we approve of ourselves. Because when we look for someone else's approval, it can be fickle. It can change. We can get that approval when we're doing what they want, or we finish that great report on time. However, when we approve of ourselves, we create inner security and more peace of mind.
This is another great spot. Excuse yourself and others. Don't accuse for the sake of your peace of mind. So often as human beings, we tend to judge others and judge ourselves, typically in a not so positive way. And so what happens is when we negatively judge anything, we will build tenseness in our body. And so that tenseness causes symptoms, right? You feel the tenseness, maybe your heart starts to flutter, your stomach starts to get upset, or you feel that tenseness in your shoulders. Well, what we've realized is for the sake of our own peace of mind, we can stop this tenseness by simply giving yourself and everyone else around you a break. So we excuse ourselves and others, don't accuse for the sake of your peace of mind. And in that way, we feel better, which is the most important thing.
Thanks, Brittany. I think that's a very important distinction that we don't often make. Okay, so here is a list of the spots. And in the chat box, Brittany did place a link that will take you to you can print out the spots from this yellow card that we were showing you. So if you look at these spots, can you see one that is a favorite or that strikes you right away? And if so, you can tap it right in the chat.
And if it's easier for you, feel free to just write the number in the chat so you don't have to type the whole phrase out, and we'll read them off.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great shortcut, yes.
It takes a while to type some of those phrases.
Yes.
What's your favorite, Elsie?
I think that my first favorite when I came to this was comfort is a want, not a need. And the other one that I love is to be self-led, not symptom-led. And that I like number 26, it's distressing, but not dangerous. We looked at that.
Yes.
26, lower your expectations for people's behavior.
That's also a good one. I know Pamela likes number 40, which is we make our greatest gains practicing in discomfort. She also likes number 9, comparisons are pointless. Yes, they are. Thanks, Pamela. I like those ones too. Anyone else have a favorite spot that they want to share in the chat?
And I would also say, Brittany, number 20, we need to have the courage to make a mistake or admit that we made a mistake. Everyone does that.
Yes, we do.
So you'll have a chance to look these over, print them out for yourself, and see which ones really resonate the most with you.
All right, so now we're going to play a little game. We're going to give you guys a situation, and we want you to use the short list of spots. Just type the number in the chat to tell us what spots we can apply to this situation. So we picked a situation that is pretty universal and most people are dealing with right now. So the situation is the price of gas and groceries is very high, and I'm feeling stressed about money. So just take a look at the short list of spots and just type in the chat, which number of the spots do you think would apply to this situation, and help us all feel better about it since it's basically out of our control anyway.
Yeah. So we can always look at number 12. Don't give your peace of mind away to it.
Yes.
As you said, it's pretty much out of our control right now.
I also like number 25. It's distressing, but not dangerous.
Yes.
That's a good one for this. I like this one too. And you can, replace whoever you think is at fault for this, but people do things that annoy us, not to annoy us.
Yes, that's a great one.
And to analyze is to paralyze, right? If we think about the situation all the time, we're just going to stay in that lower frequency, that lower vibration, and those lowered emotions.
Yeah, so, it's pretty easy, number 23, for our imagination to simply go on fire about all that's happening.
Yes. Yes, we are. All right. Great. Okay, so yeah, quick tips. You don't learn the spot it method, you live it. This is a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of being. So give yourself some time to, no rush. It takes time to change the way we think and interpret these situations and what we bring to them. And repetition is the key. You can say spots more than once. That's part of this method. Just because I say a spot, that doesn't mean someone else can't say it, because it's that repetition. That's what really gets these thoughts into your mind, these very secure thoughts. So repetition, I know people who use this method and they'll just say over and over again, calm brings calm, calm brings calm, calm brings calm, until they feel better. And yeah, just remember, you're retraining your brain. So take how many number of years you've been alive. I'm 30 years old. You've been trained in thinking for 30 years. So as you're training yourself, give yourself a break and know it's going to take some time to train into new ways of thinking. But if you use this method regularly, it will make a world of difference, as I can attest to, as well as Elsie.
Absolutely, yes. And again, it's available to you as an individual. It's being used. Dylan Marcus are presenting it, working with it in a number of companies. And one of the things they do is share a monthly spotted coaching session so that people have a chance to get on, to practice the 4-step method, and talk about where they are with it in their company. So one of the other things that's so important is about self-endorsing ourselves. Why? Well, it builds our own self-esteem and confidence. And if we look at ways to do that, it's really easy to just give yourself a pat on the back, because there's nothing more important than endorsing and approving and supporting yourself. Marissa Peer, who's a very famous coach in England, talks about endorsing yourself all the time. And as Brittany said earlier, just start with things like, I got out of bed this morning, I cleaned up the house, or I did my routine, or whatever. Just beginning to bring in that positive self-endorsement versus looking outside of yourself, waiting for someone else to give you approval. So one inner endorsement is worth 1,000 outer endorsements. Nobody can take away your inner endorsement, but those outer endorsements can come and go. And we often look to others for approval. This spot teaches us that the most important form of approval is the approval that we give ourselves, that inner endorsement. So even if someone else out there criticizes, rejects us, our own approval is what's most important. So you might get a coffee mug for yourself and somebody in the family that says, "I approve of me." So self-endorsement is the antidote for insecurity, because when an individual is secure internally, they naturally relax. They don't experience so much anxiety. They're comfortable in their own skin, so to speak. And when we realize the connection between feeling secure and symptoms, the strategy then becomes very simple. How do we increase our sense of security and decrease our sense of insecurity? So the antidote is absolutely self-endorsement. So we have these sample self-endorsements, changing a belief for things even while we're in symptoms, for helping someone else in the family, friends, neighbors, strangers, for trying something new, for fixing or repairing something, for carrying out your work-related duties responsibly. So these are all a list of, just when we talk about self-endorsement, further clarifying exactly what we mean. That even while we could be in symptoms and struggling, we're still letting ourselves know that we are okay, and helps us make positive changes in our behavior. You might say it's a form of self-love when we take the opportunity to use the spotted method.
So step 4. So this is where we mark our progress and note our success, which is something important to do no matter where you are in life. So we just look at what would you have done before learning the spotted method, and what are you doing now that you have learned the spotted method. For me, usually this step involves time. I often save a lot of time being stressed, upset, or without peace of mind. So, and why does this step work? It's really important for us to mark our progress, because if we learn to spot and drop a situation instead of processing it over and over again in our minds, this is a big deal. We're changing a habit, our thinking habit. So when we celebrate our success, we want more of it, and we become more committed to using the method and more committed to thinking more secure thoughts. All right.
Okay, so all of these resources are included in this webinar, right? So the short list of spots are in a link up there in the chat box. And you can call one of us and say, "Gee, would you like to spot it with me?" Or text me and say, "How about if we do a 5 minutes to spot a situation?" And I suggest that you print out that link so that you just have them to look at Also, there's a book. We're going to see what some of the other resources are. So where can I learn more? Well, there's a 9-module Spotted course. If you are interested or someone in your company might find this beneficial for their employees, let us know. There's a workbook up on Amazon, the Spotted Workbook. This is great. There's individual or group spotted coaching. So both myself and Brittany offer coaching. And again, if you think your organization could benefit from this method, make your company a place where Spotted is spoken here. And what the companies that Dylan Marcus have been in so far, what they love about it is that it is a simple 4-step method that anybody can use with each other in a very short time and help them not react, but evolve.
Absolutely. And so here's some links to where you can find us. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. We are offering each of us one free Zoom session to anyone who participated in the webinar today and wants to learn more about the Spotted method. You can see Elsie's links on the left. She is the overwhelmwarrior.com. And she also, her email is elsie@overwhelmwarrior.com. You can find me on YouTube at Surfing Waves of Light. That's my channel name. I also am available by email at Brittany@surfingwavesoflight.com. And my website is www.surfingwavesoflight.com.
So again, you can print these out. They're just valuable to have and to look at time and time again.
I'll put the link in the chat one more time for everybody.
Okay, great. So we want to thank everyone for attending. Let us know if you have any questions, reflections, or if you have any key takeaways that you would like to share. You can simply put them in the chat. You can just check on what you would like to plant, because your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can choose to grow flowers, or you can grow weeds.
All right. Emarina says, thank you so much. This has been very helpful. If anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question or share a comment, we're going to hang on for a few minutes
Sure.
to do
Yes,
that.
if you'd like to make a comment, you can just unmute yourself. Pam, how would you imagine this would work in your business? Because I know you do a lot of traveling, but in your interaction with either your clients or your employees that you work with.
I think that one way it will help me is because just as I had a situation this week that's still ongoing with a customer who doesn't want to pay for something that I told her she had to pay for. And she says, she does not recall that part of our discussion. She recalls the rest of the discussion quite clearly, but seemingly, and there are a whole bunch of other things. And I was getting really upset. And after I talked to my therapist today, I was able to calm down. But by using this method, I can help myself to calm down.
Sure.
And just thinking about it. So or kind of once in a while, not often, but once in a while, there are this person happens to be much more difficult than I ever imagined. She's been a customer for many years, but she's really choosing to be kind of off the charts in a way. So, but it will help me like not think it's my fault because somebody doesn't like that. I did not. It is not my fault that she doesn't want to pay for this.
Well, I understand that. And the added complication is that what you said, that she's been a client for so very long. That makes it even harder.
And I've met her in person, you know. A lot of our customers I don't, but I have met her. And we've had all chats and stuff. But anyway, so I'll just, use some of these things and see what happens.
Great.
Other people in the company are now involved in because it involves quite a lot of money. But that's, at least I'll be able to maintain a calmness about it.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really easy to use, and it's just a comfort that you have some of these spots to level out the anxiety. Yeah.
Right.
Does anyone else have a comment that they want to make? Brittany put that link again into the chat box if you want to click on that link and print out either the PowerPoint slides or the quick spotted reference card. That's in there as well. Again.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Okay. And we'll send this out again to just have your review if you want. There were a couple of people that signed up and told me they couldn't be on, but they wanted to review it. So we'll send that out tomorrow. So thanks everyone for being so patient.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming and your participation, and hope that you got something good out of this today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if I was a little younger, I would slip down to Beach Haven and take a surfing lesson with Brittany. Yeah. Okay, everyone, we're going to stop the recording.